Oh, there you go. Hello, and welcome to another edition of HughesRound. It is Thursday, the 17th of December, 2020, and I now have a new mic. Look at this nice new mic. However, it means that I can't leave my cup of tea on the table, and I can't touch the table, which means I can't, bang my fists on the table. Otherwise, it'll appear on the soundtrack very loudly and annoyingly. But it's a beautiful new mic, and this was actually donated to me by one of our listeners out there, one of our viewers, David, who is my favourite person right now. And he's Welsh, but he lives in Salford. So what I've done is I've put a little Wangland flag on this side of the microphone. There it is. There's the what's it called? Dragon. There's the Dragon of Wales there, doing a face palm with the flag of St. George behind it. And it says Wangland in nice friendly letters at the bottom. There you go. That's what we're going to look forward to. So this microphone is a Wangland collaboration. So thank you, David. Really appreciate it. And I hope that my sound is good and that everyone can hear me. It'll be really funny if there was a problem with the sound. If there is, let me know. Anything, any little thing, let me know and I'll try and sort it out so it doesn't happen next time. I've just realised that I haven't actually plugged my camera in. So we're relying on the battery lasting an hour. Oh, I'm so on the ball today, as always. So just a quick hello to my lovely people on the list here. We've got Chris Kopak saying, hello, people. Jim saying, can hear you, can't see you. Sorry, I turned the mic on just to make sure that it was working before I put the picture on. So sorry, that might have been a bit disconcerting there. Jim Chilton saying, afternoon all. Afternoon, Jim. And we've got Diane Bennett saying, hi, Graham, loud and clear. Yes, very good. We've got Too Much 77 saying, hi, all. Andrew saying, welcome all. Nord Scotland saying, hi, Graham. David saying, hi, hello. And Darren saying, hi. So that's all good. That's all good. So we are facing extra lockdown precautions over Christmas, but the government are kind of backtracking on what they meant and deciding what Tier 2 means and what Tier 3 means. Seems to be hinging on who runs the city council or the town council, whether it's a Tory council or a Labour council. Kids are still in school, which I think is crazy. I think kids should have stopped school yesterday. I don't know why kids are still in school. There's no point. They're not going to learn anything. They're not going to learn anything. Do you know what, though? I mean, this is not the problem with the teachers. This is the problem with the national curriculum, I think, because the national curriculum decides that all schools have to teach the same stuff. Okay, fair enough. Kind of a good idea, I guess, so long as what they all learn is the stuff that they need to get on in life. But instead of doing that, we just get exams. We just get exams because we love exams. You look at a country that has very good outcomes for education, a very meritocratic country where you get the best people doing the jobs that they are most qualified to do, and that country's Finland. And for some reason, we don't follow their example on this, and we just have exams, which are glorified memory tests. Now, I don't mind saying this because I was pretty good at exams because I learned how to do mnemonics. So I didn't actually learn anything. I didn't actually take anything in. I just learned ways of remembering stuff and did really well in my A-levels and did all right in my university degree because it's exams. It's a memory test. And especially if you're doing an arts degree. I mean, I'm not saying science is very different. I don't know, scientists had to get up in the morning at some ungodly hour, 8 a.m. and go to lectures, whereas us art students just arsed around until, 4 p.m., turned up for half a lecture and then left. Pretended we were doing a really important university course and learning lots of things, when really we were just memorising the stuff that we needed to know for the exam. Exams are crap. Exams are a bad way of doing it. So you have a national curriculum and basically you're taught all the same things across the country. That seems like a good idea. But the problem is the government steps in and says, hey, we don't want you teaching about those things that we did in the past that weren't very nice. You're going to teach how brilliant Britain is. The Mr. Chumley Warner Globe of the World with a huge Britain on it, the huge island of Britain that takes up the whole of the Atlantic Ocean, because that's how important Britain is on the world stage, which doesn't really take into account what's happened in the last 70 years in global affairs and global, the way the world is right now does not reflect those halcyon dreams of yesteryear. So, a bit of a problem. Anyway, the point being, the elusive point, the kids don't need to go in yesterday, they didn't need to go in today, and they don't need to go in tomorrow. They just don't need to, they don't need to go in. They're not going to learn anything. Not because of the national curriculum or exams, but because it's Christmas and you don't do anything. You just have parties and play games and watch videos. I mean, come on. I'm so old. I remember when watching a film in school required the acquisition of an old 8mm copy of a Disney film to fire through a projector. Does anyone remember this? They used to make edited down versions of Disney movies and put them onto Super 8 film. And so I saw like Bambi that way. So I saw like the 16-minute cut of Bambi in school, which is basically he wakes up one day and his mum dies, and then he makes friends with a rabbit, and then it's over. It's done. We're done here. If you had your 16 minutes of fun. Yeah. That's what used to happen. Now, kids these days, you tell them that, and they'll say, yeah, but you had the freedom to go and live and work in all these countries around Europe, and I don't. And I'll be like, oh, yeah, good point there, mate. Sorry. Progress. Just a few more hellos. David Glenn saying hello. I think I said that. Too Much 77 says, welcome to Brexit Stan, the land of the Brexit. Darian says, hello, all you huggy boogies. Hugly boogies? Huggy boogies. Ah, huggy boogies. That's nice. I've got an extraordinary itchy nose now. Oh, God. Live television is just an absolute nightmare. I don't know how people do it. Paul Shrub saying hi. Samuso86 says, hi, Graham. Do you ever get compared with R. Graham from Blind Date? If Brexit was a 90s game show, I think you'd be perfect for the role. Is R. Graham with a quick reminder? Yeah, I did get that a lot. When I was in junior school, I used to get Yozza. I used to get Yozza Hughes from Boys from the Black Stuff. So if your surname is Hughes, you'll get called Yozza. Whereas when I was in senior school, there was another lad called David Hughes who got the name Yozza, so I stopped being called that and I got Hughesy instead, which wasn't as much fun. But then, it was 30 years ago. I've let it lie. But yeah, interesting. My middle name, if David is watching this, I don't know if he is. I don't know if he sent a message yet. But my middle name is David because the day after I was born was St. David's Day, as the patron saint of Wales. Another Welsh connection. And obviously Hughes is a Welsh name. It comes from the word for fire, which is good. And Graham is a Scottish name, although I spell it with like the anglicised way with a H. And David's a Welsh name. So I've got a very sort of British name from all the countries of Britain. Unfortunately, we're leaving the EU. Anyway, so I don't know where I was going with that. Gaz Riley says the class system messed Britain up. Yes. Because you have the people who benefit from the class system, which is 93% of the population. Sorry, 7% of the population benefit from the class system. And then you've got the other 93% of the people of the country who do not benefit from the class system in any way, shape or form, but are willing to defend it for some reason because the 7% are very, very persuasive, saying that this is the only way to do things, there's a natural order of things, and we don't want people getting ideas above their station. Yeah, their station. Like people have a station in life. Like if you aren't born into incredible wealth and opulence, you don't deserve to be able to run a country. If you didn't go to a posh private school like Eton or Harrow or Winchester or the University of Hull, you don't get to rule the country. You don't get to have a say. You get to tell the plebs what to do if you go to those posh schools, as pretty much all of the politicians we've had to suffer in my lifetime have done. I mean, I'll give Thatcher some credit. Oh, I hate doing this. Thatcher, first of all, spit, because Thatcher, obviously. But she didn't go to a private school, I don't think. She went to a grammar school. Although, when she was Secretary of State for Education, do you know this? She was responsible for closing down the most number of grammar schools of any Secretary of State of Education. Hashtag just saying. But then John Major, obviously famously, he failed his test to be a bus conductor, so he didn't go to a posh school. And then we had Tony Blair. Tony Blair did go to a posh school. Gordon Brown, I don't know. David Cameron, yes, of course he went to a posh school. He went to Eton. And also Nick Clegg, his little mini-me, he went to private school as well. So yes, The class system has ruined Britain for generations. 100 years ago, 105 years ago, British officers who were all, made on the bowling greens of Eton or something, they were sending the Tommies, the working class lads, over the top towards a certain death, and the machine guns to be ground up into hamburger meat. And I know some officers went over the top as well. I know a lot of people from private schools also died in that conflict. But at the end of the day, the people making the terrible, terrible, terrible decisions, 99 times out of 100 went to a private school. And then fast forward 105 years on, and we're still in the same situation where the class system ruins everything. And I honestly thought in the 1990s, when I was, smaller than I am now, I thought the class system had ended. I thought it was over. I didn't think posh people ran everything anymore, because I'd turn on the TV and I'd hear a regional accent. I'd hear people in Parliament with regional accents and think, oh, they didn't go to Eton, they didn't go to Harrow. Okay, that's all right. And then we seem to have regressed. Don't know whether it was that good in the 90s, probably wasn't, but we seem to have regressed. And now when you see that 9 out of 10 top city jobs go to people who went to posh schools, 9 out of 10. It's not even slightly reasonable. You see how many people in the top levels of the judiciary go to private schools. You see how many people in Parliament, nearly every single Brexiteer to a man or woman went to private school. And even the people who moaned about the fact that everyone went to private school, like Nadine Dorries, do you know where she sent her kids? Private school. Yeah. Anyway, so I want to talk a little bit more about the Brexit negotiations in a moment, but I'm just going to jump into the messages here. I'm going to go back up. Sugarfree says the 7% perpetuate the myth that they could be joined by the 93% if they work hard and do the right thing. Yeah, that's from Sugarfree, and that is a bit close to work brings freedom, isn't it? Which we all know is a horrific slogan from the Nazi era. Work hard and you can have your freedom. No, that doesn't work like that. You have to be born into this circle. And if you're not born in this circle, you are an outsider. You will always be an outsider. And no matter how you try to grasp and get into this, elite clique, you won't get in. And there's two circles of it, to be honest with you. There's the old rich, and then there's the nouveau rich, isn't there? But the thing is, I think if you're first generation rich, they're going to be a bit, yeah, all right, whatever. But if you're second generation rich, you've actually inherited your money, like Cummings and Johnson and Gove. And, well, Gove was adopted, but his adopted parents were very rich. I think that you are part of this sort of second tier of the aristocracy. And we should just call it the aristocracy. And what we really, really need to stop doing is when people who are not upper class hear me saying, I think that we should remove charitable tax status from private schools. To go, leave private schools alone, Graham. You always pick it on private schools. It's not fair. People just want the best for their children. And I'm like, yeah, best for their children. So let me get this straight. There was a teacher in Eton last month done for sexually harassing the children there. What's his name? James O'Brien on the radio famously, did he go to Ampleforth or something? He went to some posh school, had a horrific sex attacker who worked there, who abused dozens of boys over the years, totally covered up by the fucking school. I mean, did they go out their way to try and expose him or say this shouldn't go on? No, did they? Hell, didn't do anything. And so, yeah, we continued on. We have continued on in this vein of just defending these schools on the grounds that the parents just want the best for the kids. But when you look at the amount of sex pests and pedos that work in these schools and get away with it, the amount of mental health problems that stem from children being sent to these schools, not least the idea that when you're about, 7, 8 years old, you're sent to a boarding prep school. I mean, it doesn't really scream that your parents love you, does it? Oh, we've had to put up with your shit for a whole 8 years or 6 years or 4 years. We're going to send you off to boarding school now, Tommy. Bye! And then you don't see your parents except over the summer holidays and at Christmas and Easter. And I think that's a really shit thing to do to a kid. Like, think about this for a moment. Kids who have been abandoned or don't have a family or the parents have died are put into homes where they sleep in dorms with other children, and they have a tendency to end up with mental health problems as a result. Obviously, there's trauma of being separated from your parents, but also that whole environment of sleeping every day with a bunch of other people. It seems like an unnatural state for humans to put their children into. And if that's parents thinking, oh, this would be the best for my children to put my kid in this school, because then they might turn up to be, depressed or psychotic or sociopathic, like a lot of people who go to these schools. A higher proportion of the population that go to these schools end up that way than the people who don't. And that's not just boarding school, that's day school as well. So, I think that boarding schools, private schools, public schools, I think they're an absolute menace. And I'm going to just say, let's take away their tax-exempt status, because that's a joke. But if I'm going to be completely honest, brutally honest with you, I think we should just do away with them. I think they should be closed down and turned into, I don't know, saunas for transsexual women. Or something. I don't know. Whatever will annoy the Torlock fluggers. The forelock tuggers. Whatever will annoy them the most, please. That's what I would like. Ernie Byrne said, it's like we had a global political experiment to see what happens when stupid people and liars rule. The result is just as bad as expected. Yeah. Most of the people, most of the public are morons who believe anything that gets fed to them. That's very true from Chris Kirkpatrick there. Darian says, very true. Sugarfree says, emails in the US have emerged proving that herd immunity was pursued. We want them infected. Oh my God, I haven't read that yet, Sugarfree. But it doesn't surprise me. Now, what can we do that's sort of cheap and politically the best way to do it? Because you say, oh, well, you've got to take responsibility to do what you want to do. And then you fill people full of misinformation. And then when they act on that misinformation, you say, ha ha, knobhead, you see what you did? You acted on your own free will and I had nothing to do with it. And now you're in the shit, or you're dead from a disease that you didn't need to die from. Big A, little a, bouncing B. System might have got you, but it won't get me. That's from Sean. Jim Chilton says, Christmas this year is avoidable as the disaster in the Somme, as if we're doing war analogies. Yeah, Jim, you're absolutely 100% spot on. It is completely unnecessary for us all to be together at Christmas. As someone pointed out, I think on James O'Brien's show this morning, that they have to have their in-laws round at Christmas now because of Boris's thing. They have to have their in-laws round, and their in-laws are COVID deniers. Grace? Or made on the playing fields of rugby. Playing field rugby. Yeah. So rugby's one of those schools. It's a posh school. And they were having a game of football one day. And one of the posh kids said, I don't want to play this game anymore. And so he picked up the ball and kicked it over the goal and said he scored a goal. And thus the game of rugby was born. So it was basically some privileged upper class shit who didn't want to play by the rules and wanted to make up his own rules and his own game. And that's how the glorious game of rugby came about. Rugby football. I'm going to piss off so many people who like rugby now. Here you go. Rugby league is better than rugby union. Okay, cut. Can we just cut there, right? Rugby union is better than rugby league. Okay, that's all I need to do, right? Let the flame wars commence. Plumduff, not sure class system will go as long as we have a monarchy. Plumduff, I don't mind having the monarchy as much as I mind having this entrenched chumocracy and class system. The monarchy, I think, should be absolutely pared down to literally the monarch and their little children. So if their children are grown up, no, the taxpayer should not be paying for that shit. It just shouldn't be happening. The extended family of the Queen costing the British taxpayer millions every year to swan around being knobheads, I don't think we should be paying for that, personally. However, I know countries where they do have a king or a queen, like Denmark or Norway or the Netherlands or Spain, where it's a ceremonial post. It's a bit like having a Lord Mayor of a city, and they just go around opening things and signing things, and they don't actually have any say in politics, and they don't cost the taxpayer too much. I don't mind that I don't mind the fact that the people go, oh, the Queen needs to stop them. The Queen needs to stop the people in Parliament. And it's like, I want to shout from the hilltops, like, she can't, because it'll be the end of the monarchy if she did that. There hasn't been a monarch refusing to sign a bill of Parliament since, I think, if memory serves me right, I wasn't around then, but it was 1708. It was the Scottish Militia Act that the monarch refused to sign, so 1708. So it's quite a while since that's actually happened. So as long as they don't get involved in politics and they just turn up to things and smile nicely and open, cut ribbons, whatever. And the important thing is that I don't want the head of state, the person representing my country, to be popularly elected, because then you end up with people like Trump or Jim Davidson as Queen or King, and I don't want them to be a career politician. I don't want them to have any role in politics at all, because the absolute train wreck of people that is currently running the country will take advantage of that, and they'll put their own person in to, I don't know, get around any rules or things that might be an actual thing set up to stop the monarch from going crazy. They might just take that away and say, yeah, do you want to sign off on this? You can go crazy. And they go, yeah, I'll go crazy. Let's bring back hanging and stop people being gay because, it's not natural. I really want to do a documentary called It's Not Natural, right? And it's about gay animals. I don't think anyone's done this. Why not? There's a beautiful story about gay penguins. So you have two gay penguins. There might be two females or two males. And that whole thing of them, one of them goes off and gets some food and the other one stays on the egg and sits there for like hours and days and days and days. And then eventually they come back and they team up with their partner. The gay ones, the ones that haven't actually got an egg, they'll find a stone and they'll sit on a pebble waiting for their lover to come back. And I think that's the cutest thing ever. I mean, it's tragic, but it's cute. It's so cute. But yeah, there's gay sheep. Giraffes are very gay. If you have a look at giraffes, obviously they've got the big eyelashes. Yeah. I mean, it's something like 80% of them are up for a bit of gayness. And lions. This is a fascinating thing. So lions, basically, if you ever see a lion hunting, someone's drawn a painting of a lion hunting, it should always be a female, because the females do all the fucking work. They look after the kids and they go out hunting and get all the food. The males sit around all day doing fuck all, because that's what male lions do. Anyway, the lions, interestingly, the male lions, when the females go away, they tend to go at it with each other, because why the hell not? And our closest living relatives in terms of DNA is chimps, and bonobos are a subspecies of chimp, and they just have sex with everybody. They resolve conflict by having sex. That's it. And it doesn't matter what gender or even what age they have sex. It's a bit of a free-for-all. So yeah, I'd like to do a documentary about it called It's Not Natural. Sorry, went off on a bit of a tangent there. I'll jump back into your messages. Just hang on. Wangland Flag is curious, considering George is best known for killing dragons. Yes, that's a good point there, Ford. George was best known for killing dragons. George, that famous Turkish man who never came to Britain, but he's a patron saint of England. At least St. Patrick actually did go to Ireland, although there's rumours that he might have been Welsh. But yeah, he did go to Ireland. Whether he drove out all the snakes, I don't know. Someone needs to do that to Parliament. Let's go to Parliament and drive out all the snakes. That'd be great. We're St. Patrick when we need him. I'm pretty sure the nonsense of herd immunity is still prevailing philosophy for a lot of Tory MPs. Yeah, especially like people like Sir Desmond Swayne, who just seems so devoid of any kind of reason or grounding in reality. It's kind of a bit painful watching him. When he stands up, you're like, oh God, he's like a 1980s television presenter, like a children's television presenter from the 80s. It's just kind of embarrassing. It's just like so removed from the actual real world. It's almost painful. Are you a fan of Nova Media? I don't know. I don't know it. I'll have to look it up. Sorry, I'm really terrible at sort of keeping abreast of everything going on and also listening to other people doing what I'm doing here. Jude the Obscure says sugar free. Yes, Jude the Obscure. I want to say D.H. Lawrence, but I might be wrong. Sugar free. Crass saw them once. He said, what's this about Crass? Go away. Right, Singer was very... I'm just going to go to the end. You're all talking about stuff. I don't know. Tears for Fears. David says, Bayerberg says, I don't do sports, never cared enough to learn the rules, not to mention play the damn thing. Difference between rugby. Yes! See, I say something about rugby. I don't know anything about rugby. I just knew it was winding people up. David says, the difference between rugby league and rugby union is that the former is played by 13 players per team, where the latter features 15 players a side. Wow. Okay. But one is better than the other, definitely better than the other. It's better than gridiron, it's better than American football. At least there's a bit of movement in rugby, from what I've seen of it. Whereas in American football, it's literally the ball gets passed like 2 feet forward, and then they stop and have a conversation about it. And then another 2 feet, and they're like, okay, we need to stop again. And like half the game is just them standing there going, okay, you ready to go again? Ready? Okay, go! Okay, stop. Not what I would call entertaining. There's a great episode of The Simpsons where Homer decides not to drink for a week or something, and he goes to a baseball match, and he's amazed at how boring it is. He's like, I never knew how boring this was when you were sober. And I'm like, yeah, you should try cricket matches that go on for 5 days, mate. Although, no offense to rugby or football or cricket or whatever. Obviously, sport is fun for the people who like sport. I just watched The Queen's Gambit on Netflix, and that's all about chess, and it was really cool. It was basically Rocky, but with chess, because it's not about the game. It's about the story of the person. Rocky was about Rocky, and that's why he won the Best Picture Oscar in 1976. Can you believe that? He won the Best Picture Oscar. True story. Chris says, to be fair, I have never once in my life heard gay is wrong because of the Bible or something like that, not in the UK. Yeah, there's a funny thing though. Some of the older generation, especially the sort of the silent generation who were born between the wars, they have this sort of attitude that they've been brought up with, which is very prevalent in places like Poland and Russia, unfortunately. And they equate being gay with deviancy and therefore paedophilia. So they don't see much of a difference between being gay and being a paedophile. So in their heads, even though it's not necessarily, well, obviously Poland's a very religious country, but Russia's not particularly religious, and the UK certainly isn't. And these people that I know aren't religious in any way, shape or form. And they're not forming their prejudices because of religion. They're not using religion as an excuse for their prejudices. They just think it's wrong. But these are the same people who voted for Brexit, so, what can you do? Eddie Burns says, I changed my mind about the monarchy, and I think we need a republican democracy. It must have PR voting in short, limited terms, but we need a lot of really clever, honest people to write the constitution. Yeah, that's not going to happen at the moment, and that's something that worries me about the UK, well, England, in the next few years. If we do decide to get a written constitution after Scotland and Wales and Northern Ireland leave the Union, I don't think we're going to get the brightest and best in, because the Tories have made a point of getting rid of the brightest and best and replacing them with lackeys who are really thick as pig shit, but they do their job, which is to support Boris Johnson. Alexander Boris de Piffle Johnson. Twat. We all know that everyone came from North Wales and spread out to the world. We're the centre of the universe. LOL, says David. Yes, David, is very true. Hughes, my name comes from North Wales, so, you might be right. But then I could say that Liverpool is the capital of Wales. That'll annoy you. Darian says, I'm gay. I was told my entire life I was wrong when I was a kid. There, Darian, exactly. This is an older generational thing. And one of the things I'd say when I get accused of ageism, because I'll say something like, the majority of all people voted for Brexit, which they did. I'm not saying all of them voted for Brexit. I'm not saying you voted for Brexit if you're over the age of 60 and you're watching this. I'm saying the majority of people who voted in the referendum, who were over the age of 60, voted for Brexit. The vast majority of them. Here's something. If I meet or speak to or interact in any way with someone under the age of 40 who is racist, xenophobic, homophobic, I'm shocked. Genuinely shocked, like jaw hitting the ground, kind of like, oh my God, like that's extraordinary. Whereas if I'm talking to someone over the age of 60 and they slip something, casually racist into the conversation, or something prejudiced against gay people into the conversation, it's not shocking. It's still bad. It's still bloody awful. But it's not shocking that there's a huge generational divide on these issues, on issues of social freedom, the freedom to do what you like with your own body. I mean, come on. It's about rights. Surely the right to do what you like with this meat skeleton that you walk around inhabiting as a ghost in its head. You should have rights over this, and we don't. And that is really, really bad. The countries around the world, I'm saying as long as you don't hurt anybody, obviously. Little bit of proviso there. You can't go out and murder people because it feels good. As long as you're not hurting anyone else and it's all consensual, what's the fucking problem? But then you have people and they're obsessed. They're obsessed with what other people are doing in their bedrooms. And they want nothing more than to kick down the door and go, "Oi, you're doing it wrong," and tell you how to do it right. And you're like, what the fuck has it got to do with you? However, those same bloody people, right? I'm not saying they're massive hypocrites, but they're massive hypocrites. And the same people who go, I want freedom. I want freedom. I love freedom. Yeah, vote Brexit. Let's get a gun. I'm going to have a gun because it's freedom, isn't it? Freedom. Yeah, freedom. But then when it comes to other people's freedom to do what they like with their own bodies, whether that be get crazy tattoos or have sex with somebody or who wants to have sex with them or have an abortion if they want to have an abortion. It's like, no, you can't do that with your own body. No. We need the state to step in and say, "Oi, stop doing that with your own body." And the big one for me is euthanasia. Because I do believe that if you are willing to get to a point where you say, "Look, I don't want to die in pain." It's as simple as that. If I've got something terminal and I'm going to die anyway in 3 months' time in a lot of pain, I'd rather not die now, please. And yes, you will put protections in place. It'll have to be signed off by at least 2 doctors. You won't just allow anyone to walk into a suicide booth like in Futurama and top themselves. And each case will be taken on its own merits. You won't have a one-size-catch-all situation where the family perhaps is pressurizing someone into dying so they can inherit money or whatever people do in Agatha Christie fucking novels. Possibly not in real life, but who knows? But this thing of not having that control over your own body sickens me, because you take your cat or your dog who is ill to the vet and they'll say, "Well, they're ill, they're going to die anyway, so do you want me just to put them to sleep so they can die peacefully in their sleep? Or would you prefer to, I don't know, die in absolute agony, pressing the morphine bloody pump again and again and again to get more morphine into your system because the agony is so acute?" And I would say, for me, hit me muck there. For me, I would say, please, I don't want to live for another 3 fucking months in pain in a hospital bed. I don't see the point. It's pointless. But it shouldn't be an opt-out system. I mean, it shouldn't be a thing where it's just given. You've got a terminal disease. We're just going to shoot you now, dead. It's not going to work like that. It's got to be your choice. And you've got to be compass mentis enough to make that choice. So you couldn't do it to people with dementia because they can't make that choice. But where do you draw the line with... We've got DNR notices, do not resuscitate. So in the case of someone's heart stopping, they will not be brought back to life. That's an option. You could bring them back to life and then they could stay alive for another couple of months and then die anyway. So we don't. So, yeah. Freedom for me starts and possibly ends with what you are allowed to do with your own body that doesn't hurt anyone else. Right, so I'm gonna skip down again now. The NFL play the game around the ad breaks. There's lots of ad breaks, yeah. Boris Winter Boris changes the Xmas rules. Once you see Johnson as a clown, everything you do, and you can't do anything unpopular with the idiots, and the whole good old Boris mindset would vanish. Yeah. Novara in favour of Corbyn. Okay, well, I don't watch that then. Interesting site most of the time, at least not a right site. Yeah, but you can be not a right site and still be a wrong site. Corbyn famously went to private school. He went to a private prep school. Everybody around him and everyone supporting him pretty much went to private school. John McDonnell, Andrew Fisher, Andrew Murray, Seamus Milne, Not Len McCluskey. No, he didn't. He's the only one who didn't. The embarrassment to Scousers there. But John Landsman and Jenny Formby, all privately educated. See, they're part of the system. They're part of the chumocracy. And they're like, oh no, we're your mates. And God, it's like someone being in the pub and going, oh, see that guy over there? He's a lord and he's my bezzy mate. Hey, can you buy us a drink? And the lord goes, fuck off. And they're like, oh, he told me to fuck off. Oh, I'm so excited. It's embarrassing. These people are part of the fucking aristocracy. They're not the people that you want representing you. Because what they're going to do is the things in favour of the chumocracy and the perpetual sovereignty, I guess, if you want to, for want of a better word, of the chumocracy in this country. There was nothing in any of Jeremy Corbyn's manifesto pledges to change the voting system so that we have proportional representation, so people could be represented properly across the country. Because he knows it's a big stitch-up for the first past the post system, benefits Labour and the Tories, but particularly the Tories. Why would you not want to get rid of that? The one system that props up the Tories more than anything else is the first past the post system. If you don't put that in your manifesto that you want to get rid of it, I'm sorry, you don't even get to call yourself left-wing, never mind a fucking socialist. Get with the programme. No UBI was mentioned in any of his manifestos. No legalisation of drugs. That's a pretty left-wing idea, but let's do it because obviously we've lost the war on drugs. Let's just have a sensible way of dealing with this bad situation. We could spend the $2 billion that we spend every bloody week on fighting drugs. We could spend that in schools, educating children that drugs are bad. And if you take cocaine, you'll end up like Michael Gove. And if you smoke loads of weed, you'll end up like Loza Fox, lost in his own paranoid delusions. Brilliant. There's some real world examples of drugs are bad, kids. So just spend money on that instead. But no, none of this in his manifesto. Greatest socialist who ever lived, no universal basic income, nothing about drugs, nothing about electoral reform. Yes, indeed. So no, I'm not going to watch November Media, whoever they are. Hey Graham, people on here are talking to each other, not to you. Haha. Well, yeah, because I don't look at the messages all the time. It's just occasionally. Someone's telling me to skip Nova Media. Gaz said, I used to get called a puff in the 80s and 90s because I was very anti-homophobia. Yeah, and that's something that has massively changed now, thankfully. In the last 20 or so years, it's now very, very unusual for you to find someone who's a young person who is adamantly homophobic. And it's because of exposure more than anything else. It's the fact that we've all got friends who are gay. Or we've all done gay stuff. And it's like, okay, this is normal, this is all right. No one died. No one was injured. No one went to hospital. And so I guess it's great that society has gone this way. And honestly, if I was doing this 10 years ago, I would be doing like the good news report. I'd be like, listen, the world's not as bad as you think it is, and here's why. And trot out all these reasons, like the amount of children who are dying in childbirth is just gone down so much. Just over the last few decades, the number of women who have died in childbirth has gone down just in the last few decades. People are living longer, there's more literacy, more children are getting fed, less children are dying of starvation, less children are dying of malaria, less children are dying of diphtheria, less children are dying of, well, no one's dying of smallpox, yay, thanks, immunisations, vaccinations. No one's dying of polio anymore, thankfully, because that's being wiped out. There's three strains and one of them's already gone, the other two are on their way out. Now, these are great things. You know, literacy's through the roof compared with what it was just even 20 years ago. And so there are a lot of great things going on in the world right now, and people are becoming more tolerant. The younger generation, the more interconnected they are and the more tolerant they are. But there's such a kickback against that from the older generation, from these sort of guardians of what they regard as morality and decency. And I'm sorry, but I can't understand how you could look at two men in love and say that's immoral, and yet look at what Boris Johnson has done. He's had 5, 6, 7, who knows how many kids to different women. He cheated on his wife who was dying of cancer. Well, she's being treated for cancer. She's still alive, but she's being treated for cancer, and he left her for a younger woman, half his age. Well, I'm very posh. I can do that kind of thing. and he cheated on her as well with the tech woman guy, the tech woman person, and that to me just screams immorality. Suspending Parliament illegally, proroguing Parliament illegally. That screams of a dearth of morality, pushing a Brexit on us that's going to make every single British citizen who isn't a millionaire poorer and less free, and give them less things to do with their life, less opportunities for the nation's children. That's immoral. And then £11 billion given in dodgy contracts for PPE, for track and trace and all this shit to Boris Johnson's mates. £11 billion of taxpayers' money given to Boris Johnson's and Dominic Cummings's mates. That's immoral. Not two men in love. Not two women in love. Anyway. Graham, you mean that the universal human rights you say, and you are the only, you and only you have the right to your own body? Yes. I agree with that. I think that there are things where the government step in and go, no, you can't do that with your own body, which I find just abhorrent. It's yours. You should be able to do with it what you like, even if it's a bit stupid. And this goes into legalization of drugs. I don't like drugs. I hate drugs. Anyone who knows me knows my opinions about drugs. If someone starts taking drugs at a party that I'm hosting or I'm at, I walk out the door because I'm like, oh, sorry, am I not being entertaining enough? Well, enjoy your drugs then, knobhead. I've never smoked drugs. I've never taken drugs, illegal drugs anyway. I've had some. What was it? Mildly hallucinogenic stuff called ibogaine or iboga in Gabon. So I've partaken in stuff that isn't part of an international drug dealing syndicate around the world in which thousands of people have died over the years. Probably hundreds of thousands. Probably over 1 million people have died to get people their drugs. And you could draw a trail of blood from the mountains of Afghanistan to the vein in Pete Doherty's arm. Or you could draw a trail of blood from farms in Bolivia all the way to up Michael Gove's nose. Or you could say, oh, but hang on, weed's all right though, isn't it? That's a friendly drug. We all love weed because weed's magical, you know. It cleans your lungs. It stops you having dementia. It stops you... it's a cure-all. It's a panacea. It's not. It's just a drug, you know? It's just a drug, like aspirin or something, or paracetamol. It could have good effects, but it can also have bad effects. One of the bad effects that I have seen firsthand from people who smoke too much weed is it makes them crazy fucking paranoid. And the idea that all this stuff is being grown by your friendly hippie down the road in his loft, I'm sorry, but do you remember the murder of Stephen Lawrence? I think it was 1994. Yeah, and there were 5 lads who did it. And the Mail, in a moment of lucidity, actually printed a headline where it showed all 5 of their pictures and said, "Murderers, if you're not, you can sue us," which was actually a good move. But I can't believe I'm saying this. I'm going to have to spit. The Daily Mail, they actually did something good for once in their 200-year bloody existence. They said these guys murdered him. The ringleader of that group was the son of one of London's biggest weed dealers. And he had loads and loads of money and loads of contacts within the police, and therefore the crime wasn't investigated properly, as well as the institutional racism. That was, it was the McPherson report, I think. It came out in the late 90s. I might be getting me dates and me times and me names mixed up here. But essentially, if you think that illegal drugs are harmless in any way, they're not. I think that you should be allowed to take what you like to your own body, but the apparatus around getting the drugs to you is just it's stricken. It's drowning in blood and suffering, as anyone who's been traveling around Colombia or Bolivia or Afghanistan would be able to tell you. It's a shit business. And yes, I would rather it was run by Pfizer. I'm sorry, I'd rather it was run by SmithKline Beecham or whatever they're calling themselves today. I would much rather those companies do it, because then at least they're regulated by the government, and we have clinics where you go and get your drugs. One of the big things that led to the average age of people taking heroin going up in Switzerland was twofold. So first of all, people weren't dying of overdoses from heroin because they were getting it all from a clinic. And secondly, the uptake of heroin from younger users, younger people, the uptake from younger people went off a cliff because they saw all these sad old men queuing up, all hunched over and a bit twitchy outside a clinic on a Monday morning when they were on the way to school. They, saw them on the bus through the bus window and went, "Oh, I don't want to do that." that looks about as sexy as a shit in the middle of your duvet. Yeah, I'm not doing that. No. And so it serves as its own advert for not going down that route, because once it becomes the equivalent of the patients in the nursing home sort of shuffling forward to get their pills for the day, it takes all the sex and drugs. It takes all the sex out of it. Doesn't take the drugs out of it, obviously. It takes the sex and the rock and roll out of it, which I think arguably is a good thing. But if you're going to ban things that are bad for people because we don't want you to hurt your body in certain ways it's good because we make money out of it, like alcohol or tobacco, but other ways just don't do it. If you want to ban something that would actually make a tangible difference to the outcomes of people's lives, make them live longer, make them live happier, less mental health problems, all of that, ban falling in love with the wrong person. There you go. That's it. Just ban it. Don't know how you'll do it, don't know how you'll police it, but that has caused more suffering than all the drugs and all the sex and all the rock and roll the world has ever given you or me. So yeah, agreed, Graham, live and let live. Yeah, that's what I say. There's an interesting comment here, I hope, from Martha. So I haven't read it yet, so I don't know if it's interesting, but it looks interesting. There's a written constitution draft for an independent Scotland by Professor Mark McNaught, a constitutional expert. He's originally American and he's drafted it by looking at the best examples of constitutions from around the world. I love this guy! I want his babies. The main point is that unlike the US Constitution, it will have an inbuilt mechanism to be updated. England, Wales, or the UK, if it persists, needs this badly. I couldn't agree more. That is a fantastic comment. It's just there at the top. Points. It's there. Read that comment. It's very good. England is Poundland, yeah. I have a theory about war generation predominantly didn't vote for Brexit, but because of all the over 65s were lumped together, we will never know. Boomers definitely won it for Leave, though. Yes, I agree. That's from Carl. The actual generation that fought in the war, the greatest generation, by and large, it seems that they didn't vote for Brexit. And when their generation were in their prime almost in the 1970s, they voted overwhelmingly 2/3 majority to stay in the then EEC. Poland isn't as conservative as ruling clique portrays it to be. There's a visible difference between people born in the old system and democracy. Younger you are, the less prejudiced you are. Yeah, that's from Bayerberg. Yeah, it just is a fact that younger people are less prejudiced. What do we do? Do we just deny that this is a problem? Do we say, all old people are prejudiced? Or do we acknowledge the fact that a lot of old people are prejudiced and try and do something about it? That's what I want to do. I want to acknowledge the problem, because that's the first step, isn't it? In anything, if you're addicted to drugs or alcohol or gambling or falling in love with the wrong person, acknowledging you have a problem is the number one step to solving the problem. So let's acknowledge we have a problem with the older people in this country. They are not all of them, but a majority of them are regressive thinkers. They don't want what's best for their children or their grandchildren. There seem to be an entire generation of people who are seemingly only looking out for themselves and not even doing a very good job at that. And so maybe if we address this and say, look, we need to do something about it. Now, I can't do anything about it. I can't sit here talking to you guys and saying, yeah, we should do something about it, and then not be able to do anything myself. I can't do anything myself because I know I've tried. I talk to people who are over 65 and I don't get anywhere. What they need is peer group pressure from their peers, from people in their own age group who say, hang on, that's wrong, and actually challenge them. And that's what we've got a lack of in this country. We need more people. I'm not saying there aren't any, obviously. We all know someone who is adamantly pro-EU and wants to stay in the European Union and has really got good arguments for doing it, and is 65, 70 years old and gives their neighbours and their mates and their family hell for voting for Leave. There are a few, but generally speaking, that same generation is the least likely to sort of have a pop at their mates and say, hey, we need to discuss this. We need to talk about Brexit because we've really fucked up here and we need to address this point. But yeah, that's a problem. One of the other things that you always get as a sort of a back heel to that, not back heel, a back lob. Like when you're playing tennis and they hit it back at you, whatever that's called, a rally, whatever it's called, when they try and hit back at you for mentioning the fact that majority of over 50s voted to leave. They'll say, yes, but young people didn't vote. Enough of them didn't vote, which I think is so unfair because think about it. When you are 20 years old, why would you give, even in the best of all possible words, why would you even give a toss about politics in the way that older people can? And I don't mean that as in like, why wouldn't you find it interesting because like I do? No, I'm talking about the fact that you are so freaking busy when you are 20 years old. You're at university, presumably studying. You're also trying to party. You're trying to have, you're falling in love for the first time. You're to the wrong person probably. You're starting out your life. If you're a bit older, if you're 25 to 30, maybe you're trying to settle down, trying to get married, you may be looking forward to having kids, you may be looking for a house to buy, to live in, good luck with that, and you've got a lot of things going on, and you want to party as well, you want to go to gigs, you want to go to festivals, you want to go to the cinema, you want to do all these things while you're young, you want to travel, you want to see the world while you're young, you don't want to do it while you're in pain because you need a hip replacement, you want to do it while you're young, and so young people are busy, they're too busy. Whereas older people, not all, again, not all, don't at me, not all. Most old people who are over, so most, 50 plus one, okay, just slight majority of people who are over the age of 65, who are retired, have literally very little else to do with their time other than look after their garden and get involved in politics. And they're not the best people to be getting involved in politics. Because they call up the radio and say horrible racist things. They are prejudiced. They aren't looking to the best future for this nation. And it might be the case that there are more of them. Just statistically, there's more of them. They are the baby boomers as a cohort. But it's also the fact that they seem as a group to be quite homogeneous in their prejudices. Whereas the other groups going down into different age groups between 40 and sort of 60 years old, there's a big mix there of people who are horrible prejudice weirdos and then people who aren't. And then under the age of 40, like I said, it's very strange to meet someone under the age of 40 who's a racist or a bigot or homophobe. You don't meet that many people who are outspokenly horrible in that way. Whereas older people, yeah, you get a lot of it. So I don't like this argument of like young people should have made more of an effort in the referendum. But at the end of the day, young people, I'm getting so old now, aren't I? Anyone below the age of 40 is a child to me. Young people between the age of 18 and 24 who voted in the Brexit referendum, 73% voted to remain. And that tells you everything you need to know. Because they were looking forward to the future, whereas the older people were wallowing in this toxic nostalgia of the past. In general, not everyone. Some young people are racist, some old people aren't racist. Not everyone, just a sizable chunk of older people have certain prejudices, which I wish they didn't have. I'm married, what is sex again? Oh, don't say that. Oh, wow, I've got so many messages. I'm just going to scroll to the bottom because I have got 5 minutes left. Everyone's just talking amongst themselves. Nearest car park. Oh, you're talking about dogging. Absolutely, it feels faster. Do I have time to watch my movie this afternoon now? What? Is that because of Daffy? Is that because of my sexy new microphone with me Welsh English Wangland flag on it that you sent? Thank you. Yes, says Sugar Free. That's the illusion of time. In reality, it's mainly gravity that manipulates time flow. Ooh, I love jumping into the middle of a conversation here. It's like, what? Oh, lol, you're not serious. Okay, cool. Gaz says, what about the guy who sits at the end of Overtomb waving at everyone? What's Overtomb, Gaz? There was a guy who used to, guys, you might know this guy. Do you remember, I think we used to go on Johnny Beep Beep. He used to hang out in Old Swan, and Eddie Carr went past, he'll put up his thumb and say beep, and people would beep as they went past. He was the top guy. Sadly no longer with us. Sugar Free says, when you're proper old, you wake up, you eat a fruit scone, you do a word search, and it's time for bed again. Yeah. Well, no, you'll eat a fruit scone, go and vote for the BNP, and then go to bed. Alan says, look for Broken Biscuits on Discord if you want a good chat, guys. Okay. Broken Biscuits, thumbs up. Whoever they are. I suggest you listen to what people say instead of assuming what they think. Yes. Is that for me? No, that's someone else. You look good with that mic, matey. Yeah, thanks, Daffod. I look good with the new mic. This new sort of big black thing in front of me. It's good. It suits me. Everyone hit the likes, thumbs up button, please, says Darian. Yes, that's a great idea. Hit the thumbs up if you can. If you're logged in, just hit the thumbs up. Helps the algorithms out. The algorithms are very needy, and this is the time of year for giving, so you can give us a thumbs up. That would be great. Hit the like. Get it trending. I don't know if it works that way. Does it work that way? I don't know. What the heck is going on today in these comments? Because it's lunchtime and everyone else is contacting us. What? Graham, this will be a train wreck. What? What? Train wreck? What are you talking about? Brexit? Yes, it will be. Having Trump as president? Yes, that was a train wreck, as we all said it would be. It was an absolute train wreck. And America very, very came close to the edge. Closer than it's been since the Civil War, to the edge, America there. But managed to snatch victory from the jaws of defeat by the Russians. Not everyone in Russia. Not everyone in Russia. Just Putin and his mates. I've actually got better looking as I've got older, says Darian. Ooh, that's a bold statement. I like it. I've been meditating every day for 8 years. I look younger now than I did a decade ago. Well, I need to meditate more, don't I? Well, I look back at photos of when I was like a teenager, and I'm just like, oh my God, no one needs to see these. No one needs to see these. I'm so glad that social media didn't exist in those days. But then I do have videos from all my 20s, and I think I got better. I think I sort of peaked awesomeness around the age of 27, and then it's all downhill from there. Not that a lot of people would like Janis Joplin or Kurt Cobain or who else is in the 27 Club? Amy Winehouse. Amy Winehouse. Yeah, sorry. Not that they'll know. Sorry. Bad joke. Okay, Brexit will help my diet. Yes, it will, Plumduff, but not in particularly good ways, because I think junk food might become the only thing that we can afford. Because the good, healthy, nutritious food, the good fruits and veg, are going to be stuck at the ports, rotting away on the quayside or on the back of a truck. Gaz says, yeah, I remember him in Old Swan. Yeah, Gaz remembers Johnny Beep Beep. What did you call him, Gaz? Did you just call him Johnny Beep or something else? Did you have a name for him? You recently posted a video of yourself when you were younger to commemorate your friend. Oh, yes, I did. That's just me in videos, yes. That was me and my mate Dan Martin, who sadly passed away this year after a battle with alcoholism. Another terrible affliction. And he was a writer for The Enemy and The Guardian, and he's actually featured in Chris Barker's, he does the roundup of the year where you have all the different people who have died in the year. He's been memorialised. He's number 72 on that picture. He's done it every year since 2016. Sugar-Free says, I've got ordered bulk bags of pulsers to keep us going. Very good idea, Sugar-Free. Bulk bags of pulsers. Get yourself some yeast, because yeast went... No one could get yeast for ages after lockdown. So get yourself some yeast now. Get a load of flour. Doesn't go off. Keep it off the ground. Don't let the mice get it to it. Lots of flour. Lots of pasta. This is for your stockpile, your Brexit stockpile. Rice. It keeps for ages. Just stuff that keeps for ages. That's what you want. Keep you going for the next few months. But yeah, fresh fruits and veg, I think we're going to have a real problem with that. And I really hate the idea that we're going to go back to the days where if you wanted a peach in the middle of winter, the only way of getting one was by, I don't know, taking it out of a can. And I think a lot of things are going to become canned in the future. And if anyone's seen that horrific video from that, a canned meat bird? It's like a chicken. It's called a meat bird. It's like this chicken. And they just open up this massive can and they flop it out and it's all covered in jelly and it just looks absolutely horrific. But that's coming our way. Thanks to Brexit. Yay! Okay, you know what? Keep it dry. Yeah, keep it dry. Listen, before I go, I wanted to talk about the Brexit negotiations. I think there's been a breakthrough. I think they're going to have a deal announced at the weekend. There won't be enough time to ratify it, but that's okay because they're going to put mechanisms in place for it to go through. So it's going to look like someone backed down. And it will be Boris Johnson. It will be Boris Johnson, and the EU would have done something to try and be reasonable about it. Be reasonable to make it look like he's not as bad as he really is, so he can sell it to the folks back home. That's all Boris Johnson gives a fuck about. He doesn't give a fuck about you or me or business or the children of the future or anything like that. He doesn't even give a fuck about his own children. He doesn't know how many he has. All he cares about is his image, is the way he comes across to his voters, and he wants to come back with this great victory. Oh, yes, I really showed the EU what for. They wanted to do X and we did Y instead, but really it'll be a climb down. So what's going to be interesting is on Monday morning, picking apart what the deal is and where we have capitulated. And I think it's worth at least talking about this and saying, look, here's where we move down on the sort of the pecking order in order for the deal to go ahead at the last minute. Obviously, 11th hour and all that, worth having a conversation about. But I do think this weekend we might actually have some kind of announcement. But my crystal ball isn't what it was. I think someone's swapped it from a Planeteer from Lord of the Rings, and now all I can see is the big tower with the big burning eye burning into my soul, which is the Tory party. Anyway, so Rugby Union is a southern game as played by private school boys. Rugby League is the game played by the northern working class. There you go. And on that bombshell, I told you if I talked about rugby, it will go mad on the comments or something like that. So thank you very much. Thank you everyone who's left a comment. I'm going to have to leave it at that. It's 3 minutes past 2. I'm late. Thanks again for watching. Thanks again to David to donating this lovely microphone. So hopefully I sound a little bit better and a little less echoey than I normally do. We'll all be old one day, hopefully. Yeah. Unless we find the fountain of eternal youth. Could happen. Haha. Right. Anyway, so I'm gonna sign off now. So I'd love to see you tomorrow, 1 p.m. here on YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, Facebook, Mixcloud. Take your pick. I will hopefully see you then. So until then, hello.